Hey y'all, hope you're doing well today. So in today's message, I want to talk to you a little bit about boundaries. And there's a lot of information on this out there. And I've watched just a huge variety of material, videos. I've read about boundaries, over the course of several years. And it's one of those things where for a long time, I kind of just wanted somebody to just, present some kind of bullet point plan, to just, to implement boundaries. And then it's like, okay, if I have this concrete something I can do, like a checklist, I can go down and, A, B, C, D, whatever, and take care of it. And then I'm good. You know what I mean? It's like, then I've got peace, but it's not that simple. And you'll notice that, and maybe you even feel this way within yourself, but there's a lot of people who have YouTube channels dedicated to healing from narcissistic abuse, psychological abuse. And it's not uncommon for them to include the spiritual aspect, right? And that's just it. That's just it. If you did have a checklist, like some type of like orders to follow to implement boundaries, you're leaving that part out. So there's this numinous aspect to this whole experience. It is transformative. It truly is transformative to go through. And if you've been through it, I don't even have to tell you that. I know you know that. But we need to approach, this is just my opinion obviously, but I hope that this will encourage you and inspire you and kind of get the wheels turning for you, which is always my goal. But I feel like we need to approach understanding boundaries and implementing boundaries the same way. I think we need to make sure that we truly are engaging expansive thinking with regards to what it means to have boundaries. In regards to toxic people or toxic environment. And so we don't, and I feel like, the more accurate we can be when we spend time on this kind of stuff, journaling or just sitting around thinking about it, then that's going to save us a lot of wasted time in the end, because we're not going to be sitting around just overthinking on the wrong thing. So we need to refine, how we think, which is, I'm sure if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you can tell that's kind of my mindset, my approach to personal growth is just trying to think outside the box so that we can be more effective with any kind of strategies we implement in our life, right, to better ourselves. And just to make things better, right, for ourselves and our loved ones. So that's the motivation for the message today, and I just really hope that you enjoy it. I'm kind of late getting to video today. I've started some training, some yoga teacher training, and I'm really excited about it. I tried to start it last year, and I went through a lot of it, but my schedule was crazy, and I got really sick in the winter, and it lasted forever, and then my daughter was sick and all this stuff, so it didn't work out. But I'm able to pick it back up again this year, so I'm really excited about it. But it's it's an investment. It's a time investment. And so, but I, in my heart, I'm trying to make sure that all of my decisions truly are aligned with what feels right. And I just feel like, as far as this endeavor, it feels like the time is now for that. So I'm really excited about it. And I just hope that you have something you can work towards too, some goals, because it just kind of helps you stay focused on the positive, as opposed to just, being tempted to look back into your past and just kind of dwell on bad things, that just kind of bring you down. I mean, it's necessary to reflect intentionally, to learn from and process, but it's a totally different thing to just dwell on that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So, I have to keep an eye on the weather. It's the last time I was parked in this exact spot, we had this just huge thunder boom that just scared the daylights out of me, and I had to rush home because the wind was like gusting crazy. It was like hurricane force winds, and so it's a little bit overcast today and a little bit windy, but we'll just keep an eye on it. I'm hoping that this particular spot isn't like some kind of bad luck, I guess you might say. So I don't really believe in that, but you never know, right? So I try not to go too far out there with the whole, you know, kind of woo-woo thinking or whatever. But again, when you truly do believe in a spiritual realm, it's sort of like, and you're very open-minded, it's sort of like, I feel like anything's possible, right? But we're going to think positive. We're going to manifest good things, right? So I hope the weather's going okay wherever you are. It feels like the whole world is just all kind of stuff going on, and so I truly hope that you are safe and sound and healthy wherever you are, whatever situation you're in. Just make sure that safety remains your top priority. I just want to encourage you on that right there. So, you know, I started playing piano again. It's been many years. I'm not super good. I took lessons many years ago, and the lady that taught me, she was cool because she taught you how to play, like, not so much classically, like reading music, which that was always very hard for me for some reason. It didn't come natural to me. But she taught, like, how to play, like, if you were playing with a band. So just sort of that style. And it was cool because it helped you to pick it up quick. And so when you would read, or when she would give you a printout of music, it would be like the chords to play. And then she would show you the rhythm of the song, the timing, the chords, and then she would show you like some cool variations you could do within those chords. So it was really fun. She made it fun, and I lost touch with her. I really need to get in touch with her again, but y'all, I can't find my music book with all of that amazing music that she gifted me with during the time I was taking lessons with her. So I'm hoping I can either find it or I can get back in touch with her, right? But I'll tell you this. I found some old books that I bought, you know, that I put up, and I was like, one of these days I'm going to play this stuff here, right? And I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Indigo Girls, but they have some really cool, thought-provoking music, and there's about 3 songs of theirs that I truly love. Galileo is really cool, Closer to Fine, and I can't think of the third song. Oh, The Least Complicated, yes. So I was flipping through that music book the other day, and you know, the lyrics in the song Least Complicated say, "What makes me think I can start clean slated? The hardest to learn was the least complicated." And it's a beautiful song if you've never heard it. I love it. It's just, it resonates. It's all about learning and growing and the soul's evolution. It's all about that stuff right there. And so I just encourage you, if you have interest in you know, listening to music that is very meaningful and has depth, some real substance, stuff to chew on, you know, with your mind, you might want to look into their music. And so it's very catchy too. The tune itself is just really cool. So doesn't that feel like the truth? Doesn't it? When something finally clicks with you in life on your path, it's kind of like, it seems so obvious. It's sort of like, how in the world did I ever miss that? You know what I mean? Like, how it's just so obvious, and it just makes you look at your former self and be like, you know, like, bless their heart, bless her heart, or bless his heart. It's like, how did he miss that? How did she miss that? You know? But it's just the lens that we had to look through at that time. That was our perception, and it was limited. And so you have to give yourself grace. You know what I mean? I just encourage you to do that every step along the way. And like I always say, the more we learn, it should kind of clue us in that the more we learn, the more there is to learn. You know what I mean? And we never stop learning. I think that's a healthy stance to take anyway, right? So I'm going to mention a movie that's, it's a comedy. It's pretty funny if you've never seen it. It's called Something About Mary, or There's Something About Mary, with, what's her name? Cameron Diaz, I think. just a cute, lighthearted comedy type movie. It's got Ben Stiller in it. And the whole thing about that, the whole thing about her character is just that, just the title, that there is something about her that's just magnetic, just people just are drawn to her energy, to her light. And there are people like that, you know, and you have to be careful when you are a caring, a true, authentic person, an empathetic person. You're going to attract all kinds of people, other genuine people, but also people who see, okay, maybe I can take advantage of this person because of their giving and trusting nature. You know what I mean? So your qualities are beautiful, but it truly is necessary to, like my friend told me, an absolute angel that God placed in my life, Carly, she said, don't be too open. She said, you're too open, you know, to me one time. And I thought that was a good thing, you know, and it's not that it's not, it's just that you have to know who to be open with. And we truly do need to learn to protect ourselves and stay guarded, just as our normal operating mode out in the world amongst strangers. You know what I mean? So, anyway, there's something about Mary. You know, what stood out to me about her character in the movie is that on the surface level, the impression is that she seems to not be affected by anything. It's sort of like, I mean, and this to me, if you want to talk about personification and symbolism with characters in a story, her roommate in the story is this older lady, and she's really comical. I want to describe her to you, but I want you to see the movie too if you haven't seen it, because she's really a character. She's something else. She's funny, but her roommate's character is portrayed like someone who, she has kind of like a very colorful, boisterous, extroverted personality, and she's the kind of person who could rub somebody the wrong way easily, or you could just really think she's awesome. It's kind of like she's sort of extreme in herself, so she can kind of pull that same response out of people as well. So with the main character, I can't remember her character's name in the movie, but oh, Mary. It's in the title of the movie. See what I mean? There's something about Mary. Yes, exactly. So Cameron Diaz, I look at her and I think of her real name, but so the main character, Mary, she adores her roommate. She just she thinks she's just the coolest, and they have a great friendship, and that's just it. She kind of, I feel like her roommate represents all of the things in our life that are close to us or are in our environment that have the potential to irritate us and or to affect us in a negative way. And with Mary, it's like everything she personifies the characteristic or quality of a person when they just let everything roll off their back, right? Just kind of like, what's the saying, you know, like water off a duck's back, which I found my ducks in a row from my grandmother that she made. It's this flat rock. In fact, I'll drop a picture in right here and just share that with you guys. So hopefully you're looking at it right now. I'm gonna impose it here, and I hope you just like it. Aren't they the cutest? So she just, my grandmother used to love to you know, go to thrift shops and find all these little random things, and then she would, you know, even broken things, and she would be very creative and just glue things together and paint random things. She would just, you know, on a whim, she would just take a brush and some gold paint and start painting, you know, her furniture and her lamps and stuff, and it's just, you know, kind of fun. She had that kind of carefree spirit about herself, you know, in some aspects. So then in other ways, she was very rigid with her expectations on things, which I've shared with you all too about buying the armchair, right? But where was I going with this? Oh, Mary's character. You know, I feel like if you look at these people, these characters in this movie as personifications of human qualities, then you can kind of see how, you know, that's definitely something to desire, to want to set as a goal to get to the place of peace within yourself that truly things just don't rattle you. They just don't. You're just not shaken. You know what I mean? What a wonderful place to be. And so the thing about this is, we really, and I say this because I know from firsthand experience. I gotta turn some air on, y'all. It's that time of year, you know, down here in the South, where I have to go back and forth between heat and air in my Jeep and in my house and everything else. But where was I going with this? I'm trying to freestyle it a little bit and kind of go off script, but I have a few notes here. The thing about wanting to live in a place of peace is we have to be realistic. And we have to understand that, you know, even if we can work on ourselves and do a lot of growing, does it make sense to try and tell ourselves that we'll ever get to a particular place where nothing will ever bother us? And furthermore, that we should stay in a toxic environment or in a toxic relationship and continue to tolerate things? In other words, is it really our fault if we've truly done all the work we could possibly ever do, if we're still irritated and drained and everything else by someone who has bad intentions, who's not doing work on themselves and not doing their part to be a true and genuine person who can accept their own flaws and wants to do better? You see what I'm saying? For a long time, I thought that was attainable. I thought that, well, first of all, I've never considered myself to be a judgmental person. I've tried not to be. I don't believe in that. It's not part of my code of ethics. It's not part of my spirituality. That, you know, it's kind of like, you know, Jesus was saying, you know, let the first person without sin, you throw the first stone. Nobody could do it because we're all imperfect, right? And so that was kind of my philosophy. It's like, well, we're all imperfect, and you know, I know that I don't lie, and I don't try to use people and do the wrong thing, and I try to learn and grow, and I could see that was like a scale as far as humanity, and there were people who fell on the same area as me, then there were people who fell over here on the other end, and I just wanted so bad to believe that I could still live in peace with everyone. Excuse me. So that may be like the most extreme of our society, that literally has to be separated, you know, to prevent them from, you know, committing horrendous acts, except for those people, right? You can't live peaceful with them for sure. But everybody else, I'm like, you know, surely I can work on myself to the degree that I can, you know, maintain peace, my peace in any environment, or almost any environment, see. But we have to get real with ourselves, and the thing is, that's where energy comes into this discussion, in my opinion. Because if you don't bring it into this discussion or into considering in your own mind, in your quiet time, and you're thinking through all this, if you don't think about energy, then it really all just becomes a matter of sheer will and strength and logic and check boxes and steps and thinking. See, there's another element. There's another element. And even if you aren't a religious person, even if you don't consider yourself to be a spiritual person, I think that we can all agree, maybe most of us, that there's something to be said with regards to the unseen. There's evidence. There are things that we can see that provide us evidence for the things that exist, but that we can't see. And so I think that's so important. Excuse me. Whatever you want to call that, the things that you can't see, maybe it's a variety of things you can't see. Maybe there's one umbrella term, like I mentioned before, that encompasses a lot of it. I don't know. But the point is, there's more. It's more than just sheer will that's going to bring us true peace. It's more than that, in my opinion, my humble opinion, right? And so let me go back to my notes. I just went way off. Hopefully it was entertaining and enlightening for you, though, somehow. I want to present an idea to you, and this may be something that may not be something that you've experienced directly, like growing up in your family, but even if not, it may still be of importance to you, because it may help to explain people that that you've engaged with in some manner in your life at some point. It may help you to just it may give you perspective. Okay, what I want to talk about is kind of in relation to this energetic principle. I want to discuss dysregulation in families and how it can be passed down through generations, and how it's so, what's the word I want to use? Subtle. It's almost like it's undetectable, okay? It's kind of like just this other unseen dark force, or you might even just put a spin on it and call it like a curse or whatever, and people don't even know that they're being affected by it. So what happens in this type of family dynamic, it doesn't even have to be your immediate family. It can be, but it can be even more than that. It can be your extended family. But it's like, this is just from my observation, and some of this from my experience, okay? So it's a combination what I'm presenting to you today from my own experience in my life, as well as observing other families and things, and families that I've known very personally. But it's like this energetic force that's at work in the family, and because nobody can see it, nobody really knows who's responsible for it. I think that's where projection comes into play. That's where people want to point the finger a lot, or maybe it's a fluctuation. You're just living in disharmony. You can't live in peace because you're in constant flux, going between blaming someone else when you truly can identify toxic behaviors in them and your family, and then turning and just saying, no, it's me. And then, just fluctuating in that manner, and then starting to shame yourself and take on the responsibility, the blame and the responsibility, thinking that you can fix it all. You know what I mean? And all of that is just going to keep you stuck. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's kind of like, and I understand the motivation for this, but it feels like sometimes people just want to help by saying, just get out of there, whether it's a bad marriage or a family situation or a work environment, whatever it is. They just want to be like, let's just simplify it and just get out of there. And look, if your life's in danger, I think that's a good place to start, is to remove yourself from danger like that, for sure. But I'm just talking about processing, making sense of things that maybe you've already experienced in the past, or that you've observed, so you can just have better perspective on your own path, and also those that you have been close to in your life at some point, so that moving forward, you'll just be able to relate to people better. You'll have a stronger, more refined and accurate discernment to operate from, to protect yourself, truly to protect your peace. You see what I'm saying? I think that getting down into these details is critical. I really do. So, yeah, that's the issue right there, is that in these toxic environments, be it a family, workplace, whatever, and I feel like it's especially obvious from a certain perspective when there's several people, like a family. It's elusive. That's the term I was looking for. It's elusive, this force that's at work. And so nobody can put their finger on it. And that's the problem. And so you may have heard this term called enmeshment. And this is something that, again, it can be viewed very textbook, and it's just check, 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 or you can look at it from like this energetic lens, okay? And here's how I see it. I've spent a lot of time trying to wrap my mind around enmeshment, and I've even looked into like codependency. I think they're very much related. I've spent a whole lot of time reading about this stuff and contemplating and all this. So let me just share with you some thoughts, and maybe they'll be helpful for you, okay? Excuse me. I feel like the number one thing about enmeshment is simply that there really are no boundaries with anybody. It's kind of like there's no individual autonomy or authority. It's kind of like I mentioned to you guys, I think before, about this particular jellyfish that's not really even a jellyfish. It's called a man-o-war. It's actually a bunch of organisms living together in this one structure, operating as this one creature, but yet it's a family. It's an organization, okay? It's this group. It's a group. And so it's kind of like that in an enmeshed environment. And so that's why nobody can really point the finger at who's to blame for this toxicity. It's kind of like, in some ways, everybody's responsible to varying degrees. It may fall like 80 or 85% on this one person who may be dominating the whole group, who may actually be conscious, unfortunately, but just have very bad intentions, and may just enjoy the fact that they know what's going on and nobody else does. Or just enjoy feeling in power. So, my point is, I'm not trying to blame, like you, if you have ever been in a situation like that, because look, I have. I'll just tell you straight up, I have. So please know, I'm not trying to blame you whatsoever, but I'm just talking about like when you don't know, excuse me, it's sort of like you can, it's sort of like you're participating in this family dynamic the only way you know how. Because you were, like, if you were born, especially if you were born into a particular family, and this is just the way everybody interacted with one another, and the relationship dynamics within the family, if that's all you know, that's all you know. See? So, but ultimately, the number one takeaway from just thinking about enmeshment for me is that there's just no boundaries with anyone within that group. And so, because of that, it's super hard to identify and resolve the problem, because you can't hardly, you don't know where to start. It's just so much and so jumbled. It's almost like, and the way that affects you, even if you, hypothetically, if you grew up in an environment like that, and then you became an adult, you moved out, and then you're operating out in the world, I think so many different things can happen with your life because of starting with that initial framework. It's almost like the language that you learned to function with in reality and to perceive reality through, and all this is just wrong. And so it kind of means, just busting out that old foundation and creating a brand new foundation to start from. It's going back to that song, the lyrics I shared with you all. The hardest to learn was the least complicated. In other words, you learn your ABCs in kindergarten or even preschool, right? But yet they're crucial. They're actually so important. It's kind of like those fundamentals. As far as just understanding your reality and your world, and how we're supposed to have our own autonomy and authority, and be our own separate person, our own individual person, and respect that someone else has different opinions than us, and that's okay, and it's not something to be offended by, and all these kind of things. You see what I'm saying? It truly is like it's fundamental stuff. And these families that are just rich in dysfunction, they just don't have that fundamental foundation. And so it's really sad. And you know, once you come into that realization, you understand why, no matter your efforts, you know, over the years, like if you just really meant well and you just hit life hard as an adult and you're like, I'm gonna do this, and maybe you did really accomplish some great things in life. You know, I worked really hard all my life, and so from the time I was able to get a job at 17, I've always worked hard. But sometimes with this kind of stuff right here, it's like, okay, I'm going to wake up in the morning, I'm going to say this great mantra, or I'm going to just repeat this positive affirmation. And the truth is, you can't just simply move yourself into a place of peace with positive affirmations, especially if you've spent, you know, 75% or more of your life in an enmeshed environment. Because boundaries, if you don't even understand what that means, then it's for nothing. This is my opinion, and from my experience, it's for nothing. Because you can mean well and get yourself in a great place, and as soon as you move into a new environment that's toxic, maybe it's at work now, then you're gonna come home so depleted and frustrated and maybe even angry and just depressed, anxious, whatever it is. And it's because you weren't guarded. And so it's hard because we know that even the Bible talks about putting on the armor of God, but it's like, what does that mean? Again, how great it would be if God would just like text us this like, here, okay, here's a link. just click this, it'll tell you what to do. You know? But we do have the Bible, we do, and we have a lot of beautiful stories, educational myths that are layered with meaning and symbolism, and other spiritual texts and stuff from all throughout history. We have all of that gifted to us from our ancestors who faced the same kind of stuff, issues of the human heart, right? So I just want to encourage you. I don't have the answers, at least not all wrapped up in a pretty little box with a bow on top for you, but I do have just some little nuggets of things for you to think about, and I hope to continue this discussion on boundaries very soon, maybe even tomorrow. I don't want to force it and push it out there to you all until I'm ready, but I wanted to open the door on this discussion about energetic boundaries, because I think that's much closer to the truth, so that we can truly take those nuggets of wisdom and bring them down in deeper into this level of understanding where it's useful, where it's actually useful, where we truly can be like Mary, where, you know, it's like we're not shaken. So I just hope that this has been encouraging for you. I hope that it has got the wheels turning for you. I hope that it has been entertaining and enlightening, and I just thank you so much for coming along to hear the message. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'll see you again very soon.